This is LP Giobbi.
Listen up, children.
You are listening to Femme House Radio.
I said listen up, children.
On Diplo's Revolution, Sirius XM.
A wonderful night is made as much by the dancers as the music. Guided as much by the spirit of joy in the room as by the hand which reaches for the next record. Each of us has a role in tonight's experience. We all play in the band.
This is LP Giobbi, and I founded Femme House, a 501c3 foundation and educational platform that teaches the technical areas of music making for women, non-binary, trans, and other marginalized gender identities. Every week, I will be interviewing and spotlighting women in music while bringing you the best dance tunes from around the world.
You are with LP Giobbi, and our next guest on Femme House Radio is Lauren Kopp, known as Mini Bear, who is also our head educator at Femme House. She's a producer, DJ, sound designer, and vocalist based in LA. Her music draws inspiration from 80s, Y2K pop, R&B, and dance music. Passionate about community building and helping to create opportunities and representation within the world of music production, they've taught the Girls Rock Camp and Iowa Music Academy, and they are the Chief Education Officer at Femme House. I am very honored to say that. An avid Ableton Live user and synth maven, Lauren has collaborated with Moog and Ableton, and with years of experience and dedication to mastery of Ableton Live and music production, their passion for sharing their expertise and empowering producers has led them to teaching classes and workshops that focus on maximizing your creative potential through technology. Lauren, it is so great to have you on Femme House Radio.
I'm so honored to be here. Wow, what an introduction.
You are very impressive. So what drove you to start teaching music production, especially in spaces for marginalized genders?
Yeah, so I had been, working in these 9-to-5 jobs that were not very fulfilling for me. And I really was interested in just teaching in general. I love music production. I love using Ableton Live, and when I quit my 9-to-5 job with nothing lined up, which was, I had never done that before in my life. I had some 401k from an older job. I eventually, kind of just dedicated myself to learning Ableton Live. I went through the manual, read the manual front to back. I think that's one of the first things I ever told you. And
that's one of my favorite things I know about you. The Ableton manual is a beast, and it is it's actually a very cool read. But Lauren told me that, and right away I was like, I want to work with her.
It's over 600 pages long. It's an amazing manual. But so I really wanted to get into a teaching space, and I think anytime you pivot to a new career, it's difficult because especially with teaching music production specifically. I really specifically wanted to teach Ableton Live because I had fell in love with the software, and it's a very small space. There's a handful of music production schools, especially at the time when I first wanted to start teaching. There were a small amount of schools. And I interviewed at one school. I'm not going to name that school, but it was a highly uncomfortable experience. I just felt very self-conscious about my gender, and I walked into the school, it was mostly cis men, and it kind of just fired me up. I was actually recommended for this teaching position by a friend of mine who is also in teaching spaces, is female, and was especially at the time was one of few women that were actually teaching at music production schools. I didn't end up getting the job, and I think it just made me feel really fired up that there are these learning spaces where there wasn't any diversity in regards to gender. And so at the time I actually wanted to start my own school and a friend of mine, we would meet every week, and then I realized, I was oh, wait, you need capital. I was I don't have any capital. I don't really have good connections.
We've been there.
Yeah. And I just started speaking to different friends. I want to teach music production, and it really is powerful when you start speaking something, saying something out loud, I want to do this. It really does move things forward. And I ended up like talking to a friend who was like, hey, I have this connection to this camp called Girls Rock Camp. Like, I think that you should teach there. They're looking to start this new music production program. And so I ended up there. And that's actually like where I ended up meeting you, because you were teaching a workshop and you started talking about Femme House. This was before it launched. And I was like, wait.
The power putting out there is so real. If I know I was placed there to meet you, and the fact that I just voiced like, this is a goal of mine, and you echoed, this is a goal of mine. It was like we were put there to have that conversation. I truly believe. And then this has blossomed out of it, and now you're teaching to people all over the world. It's crazy.
The crazy
Lauren.
thing is this happens very few times in my life where I get this feeling in my stomach. Like, I feel like when I met you, it felt like this like magic. Like, I felt like I just like knew that something really magical was going to grow out of this, and it has, and it's been so beautiful to see it blossom and grow. And yeah, I feel so honored to be
and
part
now
of
you're playing on the Femme House show in LA with us. You're going to be doing a DJ set, which is so cool. How do you divide? Okay, so you are doing so much in the education space. You're slaying it there. With Femme House, and I mean, I know, and Girls Rock Band, and like a lot of other organizations, cool tutorial videos, like you're doing it. And you're also releasing songs and have your own artist project and performing on the artist project. How do you divide your day in like focusing on the education versus the Mini Bear project creation? Like, do you have a structure to do that, or is it just kind of like, obviously they feed each other, like learning how to do new things and able to probably apply that to your project, but is there a structural way that you divide it, or how do you
honestly
go about that?
Theme of this year of something that something like, honestly, like not to like, I talk about astrology a lot.
Same.
But one of my favorite astrologers, Janie Nicholas, apparently like a big theme of this year is just a focus on daily routines. And that's something that honestly I've really struggled with in the past few years, as I've kind of like shifted more of my focus on my own personal art to education, because basically what happened is I was working these 9-to-5 jobs, and I just was so unhappy, and I was trying to find a way where I can kind of feed myself financially, right, but like still having a job, like a day-to-day job that I really like loved and like fed me, like emotionally and spiritually, but also financially. And so for me was education. And so, like anytime you kind of like pivot towards a new career, I feel like it takes a lot of your time and energy and focus. And so I kind of had to like, most of my day to day was like more focused on teaching and education. And this year for me is kind of like trying to see how I can balance my day, like day to day, so that I can focus more on my artist self, because it's really important for me to like foster that and culture that. So also I discovered during the pandemic that I have ADHD. So I'm very neurodivergent, very easily distracted, have no concept of time. So So how are you started
dealing
like
with that?
building my just like week to week list for me, everything, like what are the most important things this week. And sometimes I think it's just really hard when you're like, what is going to feed me now? Like financially, like what is going to feed me now? So, oftentimes I'm like, all right, how am I going to, like, what are 5 things that are going to make money for me this week? But in order for me to kind of like pivot, more towards like focusing more time on like Mini Bear and artist stuff, every day I try to dedicate at least like an hour or two, just like at the very beginning, just like producing, just like making something, whether that's just like starting a new track.
Okay. Oh, I love daily schedules. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
This is like, do you meditate first? Do you do like workout first? Or is this like the very first thing you do?
I mean, coffee for me is very important. So I got to have coffee. I stretch. But yeah, some sort of movement where it just kind of like gets me going, gets my brain going. I love to incorporate meditation, like 5 to 10 minutes in the very beginning of my day. And then, yeah, like at least an hour of just like making something. And I think that for like, I feel like any artist, having some sort of consistency with like creativity, because I think like, because the past few years, obviously like teaching, like you mentioned, like teaching and artistry do feed into each other. But the irony is if you're teaching all the time and then you're like trying to show things that you've worked on, but you haven't been like giving enough time for that, it makes you feel like some sort of fraud. So yeah, but I think
interesting, because I'm like, you can do anything. You're the least
it's
fraudulent
a very,
person I've
very
ever met.
strange thing. But yeah, I think, but for me, like I actually start getting really depressed when I haven't been giving like enough time for my own like personal art. So I think it's like this psychological thing. If I spend at least like an hour in the morning every day before I do anything else and just like make something, even if it's bad, it's like, it's a muscle. It's like, if you're like a runner and you run for a little bit every day, or you doing some sort of like movement, it's like building this muscle. But if you haven't like been running for a long time and then you go to run, it feels terrible. So yeah.
Caribou, I read an article where he said this almost like made me depressed, because like I don't do this, and I was like, like that's why he's so good. He opens a new session and does something new every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Like it has to be a brand new idea, and oftentimes, he said 99.9% of the time it never turns into a song, but it's just the act of starting a new creation, and then he'll like go and work on a song or whatever. But I know what you mean by I've worked through this a lot in therapy, putting my big rocks in my jar first. So sometimes what happens to me is I'll have all these emails, and like, and my room is dirty. Like I can't do anything until my emails are like in a better place, and like I clean my room, like and so I'm putting the small rocks in my jar first. And like if you have a jar of sand, right, and like you put all the small rocks first, your big ones don't fit in. But if you put your big ones in first and then pour in the smaller sand, it actually all fits. And it's so hard. Like the big rock to me is what makes me feel good as a person.
Making something,
is making something. And like, yet I still struggle with like making that the first thing I do. So the rest of the day I feel, and guess what? All those emails, they actually like, if I do the thing that's really important to me, those emails are like, come or go, whatever. Like I'm less stressed out about them because I did what actually is important to me. But
really
it's
hard.
So hard for me
it's
to
a very
do it.
psychological thing. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just like, I'd love to get to a point in my career where like if I'm like making music, I, to myself, I'm like, well, this is not like making music like should result in like making money, because I feel like that can like kill, like I have to make this song really good. You know what I mean? But we live in a capitalistic world. It's like, especially if you're freelance, where you feel like if I'm doing this thing right now, like it should be bringing me income, so, but it is a lot of it psychological. It's like, I feel awful. I feel like I can't make music if, I haven't like done it all day, or if I like focused on other things. But if I just like, it's like, even if I work,
because that's so interesting to me. Even you feeling like that is actually like, in a way, almost, I don't know, for some reason makes you feel better. Sorry, but because you like, even you're teaching and you're like you're opening the program and you're getting better at it. Like, which obviously, like, maybe even if it's for teaching, one day it will be applied probably somehow in some way to your. And there are days where I can't even like I'm like just traveling or trying to get through emails, or like trying to do like this, like the. Radio voiceovers, all these stupid things, these mixes, whatever. I mean, they're not stupid, but like it, and I can't even get to like, at least like your other work is still doing the work. Like, I think that's so cool.
I guess it's perspective, because like it, in a way, it is like I am building skills. No matter like if I'm just like opening up a project and it happens to be, with teaching. But I think like in my head, I think we're just mean to ourselves, because I think in my head, I say to myself, but you're not like actually finishing songs, because you're just like making this like little thing in a workshop, and then you close the project, and then you like forget about it. So you're not like actually finishing it. But I will say also that actually streaming on Twitch has made me more consistent. because, you know, for example, like I did start this practice this year of just like working on something first thing in the morning, even if it's just for an hour, even if it's like, yeah, like for 15 minutes or whatever. And it's like building this muscle that feels like more consistent. But, you know, I've been streaming more consistently on Twitch, and like sometimes I do production streams, and I love the two birds, one stone, where it's like, all right, well, I started this song, so I'm just going to like continue working on it during this Twitch stream. And it's like, I'm
awesome
working on something in front of people.
God, the confidence to put yourself to do that in front of people is so, like, Lauren, that is really impressive. I know I do so many things wrong. Like my EQing is weird, and like I'd be so like it's just so cool that you have the confidence to do that.
Well, I think it makes you more accountable, like become more accountable, because you know you're doing it in front of other people, and I guess it's the same thing with teaching. What I was saying is like if you feel like a fraud if you're not actually working on music, and if you don't have anything to show, right? But like honestly, like me, I think I stopped caring about whether or not I'm doing things properly, because I've taught at other schools where I've seen so many cis men do things in such weird ways, but like be so confident that like this is the way to do it, or like and I've just like seen so many producers do like one thing so many different ways. But I've also heard something like that's so consistent, like if it sounds good, it sounds good. And that's like honest. That's ultimately what it comes down to.
Oh, I love that. Because I get embarrassed. Like, is this the right way though? But like, if it sounds good, it sounds good. And if not, pursue why. I love that. And that leads me to my next question. How has Mini Bear's musical sound evolved over time?
So much. And I
because Mini Bear is a very, very special project.
It's so interesting because I feel like as a person, I feel like I'm changing and growing and evolving so much right now. And I feel like my music there's like some sort of parallel thing that's happening. When I first started the project, it was like maybe like around 2012, 2013. It was very much in the 80s like it was just like super 80s. Like my inspiration was early 80s Madonna, just like club Madonna. And
sick.
And then like over the years, I think like I very much inspired by just like nostalgic sounds. Like I love like old analog synths, but I think being honestly, like I started more seriously DJing last year and being in dance spaces and just listening to so much dance music. I want to make tracks that I would actually want to like play out in DJ. And so I like my sound has kind of like shifted a little bit more towards like dance forward type tracks. So I actually ended up making a song for the mix that I made for this. And honestly, I was inspired by you because again, that whole like limiting mindset where I was like, oh, I have to make a mix in a month. And I was like, ooh, should make just like a straight up like dance track, you know? And I was like, Mini Bear, that's just like a month. Can you like finish a track like in a month? But I was just like, honest.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, I harnessed your energy.
And also I started my musical journey the music that I now make is completely informed by the DJ sets I play. I think, you know what, I want to make a track that I play early in the night. I want to make a track that I play late in the night in Tulum. I'd want to make a track. It is like my DJing has 1000% told my creative side what I want to make. And so this is so cool that your journey is similar. And also the fact that you did make a song for this mix is incredibly impressive.
I love the idea of just goals. I think generally like deadlines and goals for especially when you have ADHD so important. But I think like also in general, like I love pop music. That's something that I honestly like. Long live pop music. And for me, I love the intersection of pop and dance. So I think like what I see in my head and like what I envision for myself, just like kind of like moving forward for Mini Bear is just like, yeah, intersecting like I would love to like work with other producers, other artists, and vocalists. I love vocalists. I love vocal centric dance songs.
Well, Mini Bear, Lauren Kopp, thank you so much for being a guest on Femme House Radio. This organization would not exist without you. You are our fearless leader. You have changed the face of this program, and you have inspired so many women and trans and non-binary folks. You are an inspiration to me. I cannot believe I got to meet you and that we get to build this community together. And thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor. You inspire me always, and I love being a part of Femme House.
This is LP Giobbi.
Listen up, children.
You are listening to Femme House Radio.
I said listen up, children.
On Diplo's Revolution, Sirius XM.
A wonderful night is made as much by the dancers as the music guided as much by the spirit of joy in the room as by the hand which reaches for the next record. Each of us has a role in tonight's experience. We all play in the band. I said we all play in the band.
This is LP Giobbi, and I founded Femme House, a 501c3 foundation and educational platform that teaches the technical areas of music making for women, non-binary, trans, and other marginalized gender identities. Every week, I will be interviewing and spotlighting women in music while bringing you the best dance tunes from around the world.